All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode 62 of the podcast with Mind Off. And we had almost met a year ago to this day. It was July 17th, I believe, 2021. And I know that because the homie Ty threw an event called Flight Fest. We met there briefly. And since then, I just been seeing him go hard on Instagram, just record so many talented artists at Record X. And it's very inspiring to see. And we talked about his influences such as the Beatles, Tycho, and I didn't even know he was a swimmer. So we got into it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you're new here, like the video, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys. See you on the next one. Peace. Damn, we're here.
We are here.
We made it. We're alive.
Feels good.
It does. And what didn't feel good, what we were just talking about, you freaking lost your Mac.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the story of... Okay, so... it was like around Christmas. I decided I was going to make the leap and buy a new MacBook Pro. And it was like... They have like this new one with a max chip. It's just like a beast, you know? But obviously with Apple, everything's like super overpriced.
Yeah.
So they sent it to the wrong address. I mob over to where they sent it, get it, and I tell them, you sent it to the wrong address. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, we'll send you a new one. And they sent me another one, the same, like, specs, because I got it souped up, you know, like 1
the
terabyte
top of the line,
storage.
pretty much.
They sent it to me, and then I sold it to my friend for, like, it was a 3.5 thousand laptop. I sold it to my friend, Omid, for 1.5.
Damn, so they send it to the wrong address, and they just sent you another one.
They just sent me another one.
Was it straight from Apple?
Yeah.
Damn.
It just took a long time, so I was pissed. I was like, great, I'm going to have to wait like another 4 months for them to get this to me. Yeah. They sent that one pretty quick. So it worked out. I got like a fat discount.
So you've always been on Mac, or has that...
I mean, honestly, when I first started with like laptops, I wasn't like, you know, the most like tech savvy person. You know, I liked video games and stuff like that, but I wasn't like, you know, doing any kind of coding or things. So Mac kind of was like nice packaging, sexy. You know, I remember when I was younger, I played with like GarageBand and iMovie and stuff like that. So there was like a allure to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But right before I got the job at Record X, I was definitely going to make the switch to like a personal PC. Because it's just like you just get way more for your money. You know, you can, if something
just more freedom that you can...
Yeah, you can spec that thing out to like what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, and you can actually change the graphics card, which is like a huge thing.
Right.
Which, I mean, dude, the freaking Mac graphics card from Apple, the new one, the new chip, that thing's insanely fast, bro. Yeah. Like editing... I think you could edit 8K footage on that, and just insane amount of how fast it is.
They really stepped up their game. Like before, it was like ridiculously expensive, and like they didn't really have like a whole lot of justification. But like the new MacBook Pro, as far as like a laptop goes, honestly, like it's probably the best all around. Like right now, is it more expensive than it should be? Absolutely. Like, it drives me crazy how they change the chargers all the time. They're like, constantly. It's so annoying. I would love for a company to come up and just, like, dethrone them, you know? just, like, bring out, like, a really sexy user interface that's easy to use and is really good for, like, you know, all kinds of different stuff. But
I got the 2020 MacBook, so that was the one before the chip.
The one with the touch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And when they announced the new M1, I was like, oh, shit, I probably should have waited.
Right.
But it's still powerful enough where I can edit 4K footage and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to wait like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And
bro, I mean...
It's still a workhorse, bro.
Yeah, I mean, they are good laptops, obviously. But I think, bro, what might be the next move is... Because they have this MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip. The next, like, desktop is probably going to be, like, a beast, like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah,
you know what
I mean?
Because you're gonna have even more computing power than that. I mean, that thing, like my laptop, bro. I don't know if you guys have you ever used like Serum or maybe like Omnisphere or something like that. Like really like CPU intensive. I can run like literally like 18 instances of it on like 32-bit, and it just runs. It's just the craziest thing.
Damn.
Yeah. That's why I invested in it, because like for live performance and shit, like. You don't want to have like hiccups like that, and like the lower like sample rate you can go, you know, you can play without any delay, you know. So
Wow.
it's worth it. It's worth it.
And even those the Mac Minis, dude.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to get one. They're like
Yeah.
$400, dude.
I know.
And all you need is a freaking monitor.
Right.
Which, dude, that's
That's not a bad move either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you like perform somewhere, you can just have like some like cool like screen or something, you know.
Oh, that's right,
yeah,
dude.
it's just like something like that. I thought about one of those for like performance, but at the end of the day, I just feel like a laptop is just tried and true. You know, I think most like the big industry people, like when they perform, they use Mac laptops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your setup for what you're doing when you perform live, so that's coming from the DAW and
Yeah, Ableton. Yeah.
Okay.
Ableton's just like unmatched for live performance. It's just light years ahead of all the other ones. Like I don't think like FL Logic has tried to do like a kind of like a live performance app, but it's separate from Logic, and you know this Ableton is just like they've been trying to do it for a long time, so they're just kind of like way ahead. That's where it really shines.
Why is it for me and for people that don't know, why is it good for live performance?
So like when you open up Ableton, you open it up right away and you're gonna be like, what is this? Doesn't look like a DAW. Like instead of like, you know, the usual like where the tracks go, like the lines, it like looks like a bunch of small rectangles. And so Ableton has like two different views. There's session view, which is like what you're used to seeing like in FL and stuff like that, and Logic. And then there's live performance, where you can basically just like take loops from that session view and put them into this like loop format. And so then you have like a grid, and so you have like they're called scenes. And so just with a press of a button, you can trigger the start of like a verse, you know, or the start of the hook, and you can just like trigger like musical sections like that. You can like take out elements, you can like take out the bass or take out like the guitar or whatever it is. And so just with like all those features alone, it makes for like a exciting way to like perform music that would otherwise only be possible to play in a DAW, you know. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a really fun DAW.
And your setup, can you just explain what you use for your setup? Because I'm just curious for a live performance. I'm curious.
Yeah. I need to be. I definitely sleep on live performance. Like I've only done it a couple times. Like I've tried to sing or like rap a little bit live, but it's just not my forte. Like I definitely need to work on that. But as far as just like performing instruments and stuff, like that's really fun, you know. And with that, I just have my laptop, and then I'll have a it's an APC, and so that kind of triggers like all the musical like structure of it. So I can like trigger like a verse,
Kind of like an MPC.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Kai. It's like it's just like made for Ableton basically.
Okay.
And you can also do like finger drumming on it and stuff like that. So I have that controlling the arrangement basically, and then I'll have my MIDI guitar. And so like with Ableton, like that's how that instrument comes to life. Because with Ableton, like performing live, you can set up any MIDI instrument to like automate whatever you want in Ableton.
Yeah.
So with that MIDI guitar, I can have it like, you know, automate whatever I want. You know, I can play whatever saw synth that I want. You know, so it's fun. Yeah.
Dang. And then I don't think we've met like personally, right? Like it like formally. Because
I think you did stop by the studio maybe one time.
I don't think I haven't been.
You haven't?
No.
Are you sure?
I've seen it all the time, dude.
Oh, really? Damn,
Yeah.
I feel like you had been there. Huh.
But I did see you at Ty's Flight Fest.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
And I think that's the last time I saw you.
Huh.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was a minute ago then, huh?
Almost last year, dude, to the dot.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think that was July 17th of last year.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. Yeah, Ty's a good guy. Yeah, I met him through Underground too.
Yeah, I saw that on the cover.
Yeah,
you were right behind him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him. I met a lot of the 805 people through that, and that's kind of like what got me started a little bit. Really, I met Jamie through that kinda. I mean, she came to the studio first, you know, but that's how we kind of got to know each other a little bit more. Leo the Fool. I had known Chris even before that. Chris the Thrillist. Because I met him at my college, CSUCI. He was like performing there one year.
When was this?
Dude, that must have been like 2018, maybe even 2017. I think it was 2018 though.
Okay.
It was a while ago. It was before I even was like an engineer or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually met Chris, I want to say 2014 or 2015. Yeah, he was.
2015,
Yeah,
2014. How
dude.
how'd you meet him?
My homie David, he goes by D805. You
Hmm.
might have seen him, but they were making music at the time, and I'm a close friend of D,
Okay.
and that's how I met him.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to share his Instagram with me.
I will.
I may have seen him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a local hip hop artist, so you
Okay,
might
cool.
have seen him, but
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send it to
That
you.
sounds kind of familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, even prior to meeting Underground, Ty, everyone, was music. Has that always been a thing of yours?
Yeah, it's always been a part of my life, like as far as like loving it, I just a lot of my life I was like, listening to music on CDs when I was really little, and then I remember it was a big deal when like the iPod Nano came out and the iPod Mini, and so I always had libraries of music and was listening to different artists and things like that. But I never thought that I would be like doing it professionally or like pursuing it to create it, all the way until high school.
Hmm.
I mean, when I was younger, I'll play around GarageBand and stuff like that. Me and my friend, we make like funny songs and stuff, but it was nothing other than just like fucking around and having a good time.
I see.
But when I was in high school, I was a swimmer, and I had like this like shoulder problem, and so I basically like I was really good at swimming when I was younger. I was like making like junior Olympics, like going competing like uh, almost professionally, in that sense. But I got a shoulder problem freshman year of high school, and so like every year in high school, even though I was like 4-year varsity, I just couldn't get better, and it was like
Dang.
super frustrating. And obviously I'm 5'10", so I'm not that tall. I have the shoulder problem, and so eventually it was just like I couldn't ignore it anymore. It's like I can't do this. Like this isn't gonna work. So I at the time I loved the Beatles. I loved surfing, and I just thought like, well, music is like kind of like storytelling, and that's something to where like your body doesn't necessarily like limit you. Like you can, as long as you just work hard at it and think about it, like you can be as good as you want to be.
Mhm.
Other than maybe like physical instruments and stuff like that, but even still, that's like way less taxing on the body, than like football or whatever it may be. You
Yeah.
don't have to be super tall to play guitar. You don't have to be like really, fast or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I just thought that there's more like longevity there. So yeah, in high school I asked my mom, I was like, can I have a guitar? And she's like, if you get your first job, I'll get you a guitar. And so I got my first job, J.C. Penney's. First day was Black Friday. She got me a guitar, and ever since then I was,
Wait,
like,
you
living-
worked JCPenney. Your first day was
Yeah.
Black Friday, bro?
Yeah, it was Black Friday. Yeah, it was wild.
What
I
the
mean, it was so chaotic that it was like almost like not even stressful. It's like everyone just like running through the store grabbing shit, and I mean at that point, there's just nothing to do other than just pick stuff up.
What year was this?
I graduated high school 2013, so it was like probably 2012,
Okay.
like right before New Year's.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. So you were okay. Just adding on to your history of music, you said the Beatles. What else were you kind of listening to at the time?
When I was really young, obviously you kind of like listen to what your parents were like listening to, at first. So like a lot of the Beatles, like Queen, a lot of like that classic rock stuff.
Uh-huh.
My mom loved like Gypsy Kings, like a lot of like more like the rock world, like like flamenco or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
but then in my senior year of high school, I listened to nothing but the Beatles for like 2 years, like
Dang.
nothing, just like absorbing it, and I loved it. And then I was like, well, I've heard it all, like what do I do? And then my friend came to me with this album, and it was called Dive by Tycho.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was
A
like,
walk.
yeah, a walk, bro. And it blew my mind. And that to me, like, because I had heard Skrillex before and stuff like that,
Uh huh.
but I always thought of like electronic music as like heavy, like robot
Mhm.
sounds,
Yeah.
and that just like opened my eyes to like, oh, it's anything you want it to be, like any color you
Yeah.
want, whatever vibe you want. And so then that kind of, I went down the rabbit hole of like, more modern music, really. So it was kind of like a weird backwards door, but for whatever reason that was it. And that was the first concert I saw was Tycho.
Wow.
I have it on vinyl.
Dude.
I have a walk on vinyl signed by them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I should have brought it, but yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
You know, was it Jim Morrison, or I think someone said how in the future musical instruments would be played in a DAW. Was that Jim Morrison?
Yeah, that was Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was even in like a Skrillex song where he
Uh-huh.
quote him. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, it's just mind blowing how what you're talking about and what you do now, you know, and what most people do. I think is work through a DAW, and this conversation is kind of just.
Yeah, it's amazing how much things have changed. I mean, like, you know, whether it's electronic music or hip hop, like almost all of it is in a computer, you know, and begins, or at least like is put together in a computer. And I think it has a lot to do with like the economics of it. Because I mean, like for a band, like you need four to 3 people, maybe 2 people, but like
then scheduling, dude, you gotta schedule,
you gotta book a recording studio or whatever it is. But like if you have a laptop and you're really good at like arranging music, you theoretically can make something that's good enough on the radio just with that, you know. You know, maybe record like a vocalist or something. So I think that has a lot to do with it, you know, just like the technology getting better.
For sure.
Not to say that there's like, you know, like we all love like, you know, real instruments are great, you know, and a lot of the times like stuff is sample based still, and we'll use a sample of an instrument and stuff. But I think that's why the laptop took over, you know. It's just, it makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. And stuff coming back as far as vinyl, you know, tapes, I feel like vintage stuff is still like in and cool.
Yeah, dude, vinyl came back heavy.
Yeah,
it made a big comeback. I think it makes sense because like Spotify, like, you know, or like Apple Music, like all the music's in the air at all times. But like when there's something that you really love and cherish, you want that, like,
you want to hold it, you want to feel it, and even the experience of going to the record store,
right,
and buying it. You know, you might meet someone there. It's like a whole different experience.
Yeah, it's just way more intimate. And then like when you have it, it's like, it's more of like it's just a more intimate experience with that music. You take it out, put it on the record player. You know, it's just like, it's more of a deeper relationship with the music when you have it like physically on vinyl, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas Spotify is just like pull out your phone, like everything else in the world right now, you know. Hit a button and it plays. But when you have that crackle, throw it, it's just like, it's different. Hits different.
Dude, and this is like totally off topic, but what if there was an EMP or some shit that just wiped out all of the electronics, like everything on the fucking database, bro? Everything in the cloud,
that would be
gone.
I mean,
except for all the physical stuff that you can touch and feel.
That would be crazy, bro. I mean, that would be so bad to where there would be like anarchy.
Yeah.
I mean, like so many people's jobs would be gone, like in thin air, just in an instant. I mean, like even more than COVID, you know, the people would not have any kind of job. A lot of people are working remotely now too. That's gone. You know? So dude,
using like maps, Apple Maps, like, you know, navigating places, bro.
Dude, I would get nowhere.
Dude, where you know where you'd have to like what is it? You'd have to go on. Fuck, what was
MapQuest or something?
MapQuest, you had to download
but
that shit.
But even that, it's online.
I know, yeah.
I don't think I've ever used like a fold out like map.
No.
I remember when I first got my car, my mom's like, I'm gonna get you a bunch of, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna use it. I don't know how to use it. I don't want that in my car. I don't know what I would do with it.
Shit.
Yeah, other than maybe use it as like a sunshade. You know, like on the side.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to what were we talking about? Vinyl,
yeah, computers,
and Tycho. So from Tycho, you started exploring just different sounds. Like you went into a DAW. Like what was your thought process?
I guess like so yeah, me and my friends, like we all kind of started learning music around the same time. Oh, can you throw me one of those too? Let's go. And we wanted to be the Beatles. We all like got into the Beatles at the same time. Like I feel like not enough people these days appreciate them. They were the first of like a lot of stuff. One of the first people to do a concept album. One of the first people to do drum loops. Tomorrow Never Knows, with like a heavy limiter and compression on it. You know, they did a lot of stuff for us, feedback with the guitar.
Interesting.
And so we just loved them, and we identified with them, and so we're like, oh, let's learn instruments. Like, I'll learn guitar, you learn the bass, you learn drums, and obviously it didn't pan out, us being a little band, because there's a lot of learning to do. You can't just like kind of learn and then start a band. At least in our case, like, it took a long time to like learn about stuff, but that kind of set us on the path. And so we're like, oh, let's get a computer to record ourselves, And so we're doing that. We suck, it was just horrible. Like, we just couldn't play in time. It just was not good. But and then we went to a rave, bro. And the first time I went to a rave, it just blew my fucking mind. Just whoa.
Was it like a festival, or was it?
Yeah, it was a festival. Yeah. So it was for me. It was Coachella. But obviously there's a lot of different music there, which was great. But just like the heavy dance music just like stood out, because it was just like, it just sounds huge.
Yeah,
like
fucking
insanely big, and all these abstract sounds, and like the tension and release is so like extreme. And especially if you're like on Molly or something like that, it's just like, just blew my mind. And so we came back and we're like, let's make some house music. And so then that put me on the path of like learning how to make sounds, like learning how to like be a little bit more of an engineer, as opposed to just like recording a sound, like, how do we like make this sound clear? How do we make this sound bigger? How, like
compression and all.
Right. So like thinking about it more in the way that like a producer would think about it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So at that time, were you recording your friends? Were you recording yourself, everyone, or was it just?
At that time, so before that, we would try to record guitar, try to record like electric drums, and we didn't know much about anything other than maybe trying to EQ it a bit or something, or maybe a little bit of reverb. After that, that's when we really started like diving into synthesizers and like drums that weren't just like an actual drum set, like working with like fat kicks that we found on the internet and things like that. So that's like I said, that's when we kind of like started to think about things as more of like a modern producer, as opposed to just like a little band in the garage, trying to record what is there. And then eventually I was gonna study poli-sci in college.
Okay.
And that's around the time I was in college, but I took a lot of music classes still, because I was like, I'm paying my way, I'm going to take whatever the fuck I want,
Yeah.
And then just one year I decided, fuck it. What am I going to do with poli-sci?
What's poli-sci?
Political science.
Political science.
Yeah. Okay. And so I would get the same like attitude, like everyone would be like, what are you going to do with music? And I'm like, we'll see, but like this, I got the same attitude when I did poli-sci. What are you going to do with poli-sci? And I was like, I don't know.
I mean,
no idea.
What can you do with poli-sci?
I don't know.
Just from a person that doesn't know anything about it.
Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe try to run for office. Maybe go into journalism. Maybe law. I don't know. But like, honestly, I feel like most degrees, you just kind of come out, and unless you're like in the hard sciences, like computer science or like biochem, like those are the ones where like you're going to school, like you're gonna find a job coming out. You're gonna be just fine. But you come out with like a degree in liberal arts, like
you're working at Starbucks.
You're just like, you're fighting your way, just like the rest of us, to just find something that pays the bills. It probably won't have anything to do with liberal arts, at the end of the day. But that was kind of the mindset. I was like, fuck it, study what I like,
And when you were taking college classes for music, what did you take?
So at Moore Park, I was at Moore Park for 3 years. I took like audio design. There was a music technology class that was cool. That was more of like working with Logic, like, wow. That was just like editing, like cutting audio, splicing audio and stuff like that. There was also a music appreciation class, which was cool.
Interesting.
And then I just learned about different periods of music.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that shit. It was so fun. Medieval music all the way up to like, modern hip hop and stuff like that. And then at CSUCI, I just took like 2 Pro Tools classes. I took a Beatles history class. Obviously, I love that shit. Yeah. In that class, I got to I got to record a song with the guy that recorded the Beatles.
No, what the fuck?
Yeah, his name is Jeff Emmerich, and he passed away like a couple years ago, and rest his soul, bless his soul. But
Yeah.
he was an amazing guy. He was the Beatles were the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
He was their recording engineer, and he was 18, like a baby recording the biggest band to ever be. You know.
Did you ever like pick his brain and just
A little bit.
what
Like,
did you?
I feel like the European like sensibilities, like especially someone like him, like I can tell they don't like when you pick their brain too much. They kind of like want you to just be a fly on the wall, you know.
Interesting.
I noticed that like this other girl that was there like kept asking him questions, and he's like, just watch, you know. Like, so I tried to be considerate of like him and his like working, you know. So I didn't ask too much, but like, you know, like he would come to class every once in a while. We'd show him our songs, and he'd like give us feedback and stuff like that. But he was a smart guy. He like, so like you know, like when you see like a drum pillow in the drum.
Yeah,
that was him.
There's one in there.
That's
yeah.
Jeff Emmerich right there. He was the first person to do that. Yeah.
Damn.
So because they were listening to Motown, and Motown had this fat kick, and they're like, how do we do that? And the reason for that was actually because the grooves in the vinyl for Motown records were deeper, so they got deeper bass, I guess. But so they just had to be like, they didn't know that, and so they had to think of another way to do it. And he decided to like, you know, mute the drum bass, so it's like a poof, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what? Lower lower end.
I guess you just get more of a punchier sound as opposed to like reverberating so much, you know. Like
It absorbs some of the.
Yeah, so it's just kind of this shorter boom, and then that
Yeah.
leaves space for the bass, you know. It's just like it really helps with the mix and stuff, and gives you more of a punchier, drier sound, I guess. So
yeah, that makes sense. It clears up space for the bass.
Yeah,
and
all so that was
stuff.
him. That's Jeff Emmerich, you know. Something
Wow,
that he did is,
dude.
you know, literally in every studio right now. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So he was a cool guy. So I took that class, the Beatles history class, along with a bunch of other music classes at CSUCI, and then like guitar classes and stuff. I'm all right guitarist, but I definitely enjoy the computer the most. And then my dad was like, he's like, well, I was about to graduate. He's like, do you want to like get a major? You know, I mean, not a major. Do you want to like what is the word? Get your master's.
Okay.
And I was like, and like in the regular college experience, like that means like heavy music theory, you know, like that kind of like more of a classical approach to things, or like maybe the most modern like jazz, you know. And so I was like, I just can't see myself like really diving into that. But at the time I loved electronic music, and like the school at the time was Icon Collective.
Huh.
And that's in Burbank. Like one of the biggest DJs like in the, you know, the game at the time, like went through there, like Jaws, Slander, like all these people. And I was like, well, I could go to this school. Like I'd love to do that. And he's like, all right, you know, if you figure out how to pay for that, you can do it. And so that's what I did. And I went to Icon for a year, and it was crazy. I loved it. And it was one of the hardest things I ever done.
Wow.
But it was like going to Hogwarts, bro. It was like every kid had their own little unique, like little magic, you know? And you're just surrounded by people that love the same thing. It was just an incredible experience. Yeah.
Wow,
it was
dude.
So fun. Yeah.
So in that class, were you making music? Were you like presenting your music? Were you like?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Icon, it was like, you know, you have like a class of like 20, and you're like in like a you know, like in like a normal class, but instead of like, you know, a teacher with a projector, there's two big KRK speakers, you know, with a computer that can project, and you present your music every week. It has to do with like whatever the lesson is, you know, and you get criticism, and it's, you know, all kinds of stuff. There was a songwriting class, a keys class, Ableton 1 and 2, Logic 1 and 2. It was crazy. It was so fun. Music business. They even had this class called Art of Flow, and it was like a philosophy class about being an artist.
Huh.
And like how to get through things like writer's block, and like how to deal with things like criticism or self-doubt, which was, it ends up being a lot of people's favorite class because it's just like really useful. Yeah.
Dang, dude. Just from my perspective and hearing what you're saying about, you know, a very structured way of approaching making music, for myself, and I think Next Door Blue, we kind of took the route of YouTube University.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I mean that's so dope how, you know, everything's just structured and it's kind of not laid out, but I didn't know like any of these, like most of these things existed, as far as like that philosophy, you know, learning about music, business,
right,
stuff like that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's just more experience. It's more like networking. It's more like kind of, you know.
Yeah, there's like I definitely love YouTube too. I don't think there's any shame, and like,
oh
like
no,
some
definitely
people
not.
like, I mean, it's amazing. It's this
It is
huge
amazing.
wealth of information, and you know, when you graduate, like that's that's the go-to, you know. And
Yeah.
I was on YouTube a lot before that too, and if I could be in school, I still would be. I just love that environment. I love being able to like have someone more experienced than me like give me feedback, you know.
Yeah.
But YouTube is the shit, bro. I mean, there's always like, if you know how to ask a question correctly, there's the answer.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a thing where it's like, yeah, you have people that are more experienced than you, just right there at your fingertips. Like, yo, what does this mean?
Right.
That's super dope.
Yeah, and it can be a huge help. Like, I mean, like, honestly, because you don't know what you don't know. And so when you have someone more experienced to be like, like, bro, like, think about this, you know, it just, you can really speed up, like, what it is that you need to work on.
Yeah.
You know, as to maybe, like, figuring out, you know, 2 years later, like, finally getting the ear to be like, oh. Whereas, like, there, I mean, you learn so much, especially Icon, like, you cannot possibly, like, put all of what you learned into action immediately. It takes a long time to, like, develop the ear. Like, to this day, I still think about, like, what I learned a little bit, you know?
Interesting.
So, you know, just, I just think any source of information is worth it, you know? As long as you don't go into debt too much, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, mixing and, you know, getting that ear to hear certain sounds, thinking I need to remove this low end, or I need to add more highs, all that stuff, compression. How was that during the school that you learned that, or was that through time that you learned that, or are you I mean, it's always a work in progress,
yeah,
right?
Always, so you're always like learning things and getting a better ear and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, like on YouTube, you know, like everyone's like, what is a compressor? Like, how does it work? Like, why do I want to compress something? But then at Icon, you obviously get really in depth, like, lessons about them and stuff like that, and when to use it, the different kinds and stuff like that. So, but even like after the fact, like you can learn a bunch of stuff, but you still have to take the time to, like, for your ear to be able to catch these things. You know, like one of the first things that I could hear very easily with a compressor was like sidechain compression. You know, so like if you like sidechain like a kick to a compressor and like put it on a pad, you get like that, like very, like you hear it in almost all dance music, like the yeah. So like that was the first thing I was like, oh, I can hear that. Whereas like maybe like the attack on a compressor, and like the release and like using it on a vocal is a little bit more subtle, you know? So like obviously like that just took more time for me to just like, even though maybe I knew technically how to explain what was going on, it took me time to develop the ear to be like, that's what I like, that's what I want to do, you know, and continue to develop my ear, you know? Like it's just like a little bit, it just takes a little bit more detail, you know? So it's definitely something that you're always getting better at, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it sounds like a fucking huge ass like Hogwarts, or like a boot camp, or like just fucking everyone just there.
It is amazing, and like honestly, I just
cool.
Like, I wish everyone could have that, you know? Like, there's something so magical about just being surrounded by a bunch of people your age or around your age, like studying exactly what you love, you know? I wish that we could re-examine like the importance of learning and education in this country, because like for me to do that, bro, I had like one full-time job, one part-time job, maybe another part-time job here and there, because it was like I think $2,100 a month.
Damn.
I'm going to school full-time in Burbank. I'm working in Thousand Oaks, sleeping in Oxnard. And so I would like get up like at 4 a.m. to be lifeguarding at Thousand Oaks until 12, drive an hour and a half to Burbank or whatever, how long it took with traffic, get off at 10 p.m., go all the way back to Oxnard. Like, I just wasn't sleeping, you know. Like, I think I was like sleeping like 4 hours, you know, a day. It was hard. It was hard as fuck. Like, I was like definitely being pushed to the edge, you know, like as far as like not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
And so on the weekend, I just die in my bed, like boom, you know, just die. And then, but you know, I just don't think that. I feel like Americans, like, especially, like, have to go through so much just to learn. You know, it's like I just wish that we would re-examine like the importance of that and not have to make people go through so much, you know, just to do that. And that's for someone like, if I had to pay rent at that time, there's no way that would have worked. I was living with my dad, you know, there's no fucking way. Like, there's just no way that would have happened. So I was lucky, you know, I got to do that. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that would like to do that, but they can't because of the financial situation that they're in, you know. But yeah.
No, for sure, man. And I do really believe in the like reforming the school system as well, as far as what's important. You know, we should be learning about taxes. We should be learning about, you know, stocks, real estate, all that stuff to have a, you know, set yourself up for a better future.
Right. I remember we learned about like yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that could be adjusted in the curriculum, like cursive. Like,
oh, that's right.
I mean, I'm sure now maybe things are a little bit different, but typing is way more important than cursive.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to type on a computer. So hopefully, you know, that's probably something that's like probably more in elementary and middle schools, but I would hope that they've adjusted things a little bit. But
dude, I took typewriting in junior year, and that was probably one of the most important classes I've taken.
Yeah. It was optional too. I remember I took a computer class like optionally, and there's way more in there that you learn that's useful, you know. And like, I mean, like, obviously, like with math and sciences, like maybe like every day you don't use it too much, but those ones are important because like I feel like it's just important for the development of people's brains at the very least, you know. Like, I hated math. Like,
no, same.
I was not good at it. I barely passed algebra 2, you know. Like,
me too, bro.
I struggled so much, but I think it's important, you know, for development and stuff like that. And it is like a fundamental part of reality. So, but as far as like, you know, the curriculum, I think that there could be a lot of changes. I think meditation, is something that like definitely is like, because like the ability to combat like emotion and to like calm yourself down, I think that's a really useful human skill, you know. I don't know if they do that at PE or whatever the fuck, but I think that would be worth teaching, you know, people to do. You know,
I wonder, because in middle school, I think it depends on the teacher. Sometimes where it's on the teacher, like, hey, I want to teach this. So in middle school, we did learn, you know, breathing exercises. We learned yoga.
Oh, really?
Which I went to school in Camarillo at UCMS.
Oh, was it a public school or private?
Actually, you know what? That makes sense because it was a charter school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense. Yes, I went to public school, so we didn't have anything like that.
Oh,
I went to school in Thousand Oaks, so it was a good school. Like, I think that they did a good job, but yeah, emotional intelligence is important
for sure.
Being able to make sense of your emotions is definitely useful. I would say more useful than home ec, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I would like to see that in the curriculum, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. What else? What else can...
But add to the curriculum?
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I think the sciences are always important. You know, people being scientifically literate is, like, super important for a democracy, you know, to just be able to, like, especially with the internet age, you got to be able to, like, okay, like, what is this article popping up on Facebook trying to say, you know, like, is this peer reviewed, or is it, you know, like, having a scientific, like, literacy, I think really helps combat misinformation a little bit, you know, because you just have a good basis of like objectivity and like understanding like what something being peer reviewed is, you know, like so someone that just like makes a claim can't just like sway you, you know.
Yeah.
So I think those are always really important, and they're pretty emphasized, so that's good. But maybe like a new look onto like homework, you know. So like some of the Norwegian or Scandinavian countries have like a very different view on homework, whereas they don't overload the kids.
Interesting.
And some of them don't even give homework. And it's kind of important to have like that work-life balance, that school-life balance. And oftentimes less homework, kids do better, you know.
There was I forgot who I talked about with this, where it's a school where you're not graded on certain, like you're not graded on math, science, all that stuff, but you're graded on, you get to choose what you're passionate about, and you get graded on that, which I don't know.
Is that high school or
I want to say it's some sort of high school.
I mean, I feel like, that definitely helps people kind of maybe try to find something that they're passionate about, which is good, you know. As long as you can't just skate away with not knowing how to add or some shit, you know?
Oh no, definitely not.
And I'm sure that's not how it works. So
yeah.
I mean, I think a problem in our society is that a lot of people are kind of judged or forced into something that they're not good at. You know what I mean? Like what is that?
I think I know what it is.
That
it's like
Albert Einstein quote. He's like, if you tell a fish that like being a genius is being able to climb a tree, that fish is gonna think for its entire life that it thinks it's stupid. You know?
Yeah.
When it's a genius at swimming. You know what I mean? So yeah. I really do think that the school system in general is kind of like formatted in a way to make people good workers, you know? Just doing busy work, get it done, turn it into the boss. You did a good job, and, you know, you get a good grade.
Yeah.
But
well, I think that's how it was during the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it was created then, and then, you know, to create a 9-to-5 worker, go to school for 8 hours.
Right.
It's kind of like a daycare too, where your parents are at work, you know, you're there at
and
school.
That part kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
know?
It
Like,
does.
But you're right about it starting in the Industrial Revolution, you know, where it's like we just need a bunch of good worker bees, you know, and things are changing a lot. There's like a lot of small businesses that have popped up, you know, in the last like 2 years. You know,
during
people,
COVID and
exactly.
stuff.
People trying to like get a little bit of freedom from the monotonous and honestly nowhere road of like working for somebody, you know, constantly having to beg for a raise, you know, or outperform and like outwork yourself just to make enough to live, you know. I'm all for that. I think that you know, we should adjust the school system in a way to it's maybe a little more modern, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
And dude, that's a great point that you brought up during COVID. So many artists, so many, you know, small businesses I felt like that I wasn't aware of just came out and, you know, started making themselves known, or did you notice that?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, there's been a ton. I mean, like, honestly, the 805, I feel like, has had just a little, like, renaissance of, like, all these, like, kids, all these talented people just, like, popping off and, like, taking music really seriously and trying to have the next big hit out of the area, which is just, like, beautiful to see. I mean, when COVID hit, too, that's when I got my job at Record X, like, literally a week before the pandemic hit.
Who's running Record X?
So right now, Pistol Pete is running Record X. Daniel Negrete.
Okay.
And he's known the old owner for a long time. The old owner got married and you know, had a change of life, and so he's like, you know, I don't really think I could give this the attention that it needs, and so he passed it on to his buddy. Wow. And so now we're working on it together. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, you know, that happened to me, and now I'm working like 60, 50, sometimes 80 hours a week, you know, just only through music, and it's awesome.
Dude, these are so good.
Yeah, these are fire. Ventura.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sponsor the podcast.
Are they sponsor it?
No, I wish, dude.
One day.
One day.
But yeah, bro. Yeah, there's been some silver lining with the whole, restructuring of everything because of COVID.
You know what? And as far as the 805 and all these artists, I feel like we're all supporting each other too. It's like a community. I feel like.
Yeah, and you
with,
need that
with everyone. Yeah.
You need that because every once in a while there's like an Anderson .Paak, and it's just like so goddamn good that like they're gonna shoot to the stratosphere. But when you have a bunch of people supporting each other, that's like when a scene happens. And sometimes scenes are greater. Sometimes, a lot of the times, scenes are greater than just a single person. Because it's like it's a cultural phenomenon. And I mean, I'm so proud of everybody, and I'm happy to just like be involved with it because it's amazing to see a bunch of these like young kids like trying to be rap stars and like doing their song, and putting it out there. And Oxnard, Ventura, they blow shit up, bro.
Yeah.
They just blow shit up. It's so cool to see.
Yeah.
Because like Thousand Oaks, like that's where I come from. Like, there's not really like a music culture like that, and they definitely don't like value, a musician in that way. Whereas like Oxnard, Ventura, like he was like Trouble Kid. They like saw him, boom, blew him up. Jamie, bam, just like. It's just
Madlib, freaking
right,
Anderson .Paak.
Yeah.
Like there's a rich history
right
of artistry in Oxnard.
Right, and it's amazing that they value that, and like support someone like that. So, yeah, it's just an amazing place. I mean, I love it. I like it. I love being here. I like it so much more than L.A. or Thousand Oaks or whatever it is. It's just like a lot of really great culture, a really good music scene. And it's not like impossible to find parking.
For real, dude. You don't have to pay for parking, bro.
Right. Oh god, that's the worst thing about LA. You like go somewhere, even if you're like 20 minutes late and you gotta find parking, you're like, fuck. Where am I gonna go? How am I gonna find this fucking parking? Gotta get some app for it or some shit. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. It's stressful. Way too stressful for me.
And so working at Record X, dude, you're meeting fucking so many people, and how's that process?
I mean, I love it, bro. I just been trying to be there as much as I can, accepting as much work as I can, and through that you meet a lot of people, like a lot of aspiring artists, sometimes bigger artists, and it's just been amazing to be a part of. Like I said, maybe the first kind of bigger person I had was Jamie. She came through, and then through that I met Trouble Kid, met Slump Boys,
Yeah.
And then there's also like the military base, in Port Hueneme.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of people in the military that make music. So I met someone like, Gio the Great, King Louie, like this guy Mansow, he makes beats. They're all from the Navy, all from different places, Florida, Oakland, Houston, Georgia. It's just like, it's a cool little place, and I love it. Reminds me of Icon because I meet people that love what I love, and as long as you're in there and you're putting in the work, you're gonna meet people, and it's a blessing. It is.
It really is, man. So you're helping out, or you're engineering artist, and are you working on any projects? Are you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like. I love making my own music too, but I've been so swamped with bookings. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, if I were to accept everything, I'd be hitting over 80 hours a week, And so I just been, recording and mixing a lot of stuff. I do have a couple songs I want to put out and do, but every time I'm done with work, I'm like, I'm just creatively drained, But hopefully in the next month or two, I just put out a song, California Stop. The World Star just reposted it today, which is cool.
I saw it, yeah,
which is nice of them. And but I do have some stuff with my voice that I'd like to do again. With that one, I asked Angel to sing the lyrics that I wrote and stuff because I needed a tenor. Like my voice is deeper. I tried to sing on that one and it just like wasn't quite getting there.
Interesting.
But Angel, he's like a super talented artist. Really good at singing, and I wanted that kind of The Weeknd kind of vibe to it.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
high
yeah.
tenor, just
Yeah.
like soaring over the track. So I was like, I think I know the guy that can do it, and Angel killed it. Yeah. But as far as the next one, I want it to be a little less serious. Like California Stop is very like dramatic. I think the next one's probably going to be a little bit more like Shoreline Mafia-esque. The kind of like
Interesting.
newer LA sound. But I always like to combine genres.
Uh-huh.
So I think that like a little bit of like tech house like sound design, just like this like long attack like brass, like vroom kind of stuff would sound good on there.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the next direction I might go for the next single. But I'm not going to be making any albums or EPs for a minute because I just realized how much of a like I feel like it's kind of like too much work. It's like for not a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
Because you just like you got to just like push something out, and if you just do single, you just get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Because people just like they see, regardless if it's a single or an EP, they give it about the same amount of attention. So I think singles make more sense right now.
It's interesting. I personally like dropping big projects for the fact that like it's well taken care of. It's well thought out. It's well put together. And as we were talking about for vinyls, it's like, in a sense, it's like it's sort of like non-disposable. Like you can't,
right? Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. Like I love albums. Like I'm an album guy. Like that's what I listen to. I don't listen to singles too much, but
That's just what I'm doing.
No,
Yeah.
and I agree. Like it's just like it's more meaningful. Like it's something that you're way more proud of. It shows more of what you have to say. I feel like those are like, especially when you have like a good following too. Like that's when it's like time to come up with an album, because then it's like this is what I got to say. Whereas like when you're trying to just build something, it almost makes more sense to just do single, and then when you got like, whoa, you got a lot of eyes, and then maybe bam, hit him with an album or something, because then it's like, who is this guy? Truly, what is his ideas? What are his thoughts? But yeah, you're right though. Like the album is way less disposable than like single culture, and that's just like what's next on the playlist kind of thing.
Yeah, but no, dude. I remember Kid Cudi. He was like, "Yeah, man, I just want to make one really good song," and then freaking day and night.
Yeah,
like, that's when that happened, bro.
Speaking of like really good house music too.
Yeah,
definitely has a good little house influence on there.
House. I hear Pink Floyd because he's
Oh yeah. No, it's a good. See, I appreciate when people kind of combine genres a little bit. I love rap on house music. I just feel like it's like so like underexplored. Like Doja Cat has done it once.
Dude, you know what? Freaking Kyle, dude. Kyle on Beautiful Loser, has a big house influence.
Oh really? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Super Duper Kyle?
Yeah, Super Duper Kyle. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that.
Yeah,
out.
2020. I think it's 2013.
Oh, okay.
Which way ahead of its time.
Yeah, that is way ahead of its time. Yeah, because it's a match made in heaven. The energy is super high. You just gotta like be creative with the beat and switch things up, and hip hop is all about energy. So yeah, I think it could work. That kind of like vibe.
Yeah. Dope, man. Well, I think it's 7:23, so you might gotta go. I feel like we touched on everything so far, like the current, what you're working on now. So yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's at mindoff_music, and then also at RecordX Studios. Book a session today. I'll take care of you. Let's make a hit.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Peace.